Hey guys, and welcome to Cannabis TV. My name is Conor McLeod, and in this exclusive interview, I speak with Tony Bevington. Tony is an 80-year-old gentleman facing court on a possible jail sentence for growing his own medical cannabis to treat his terminal kidney disease. In this episode, Tony and I discuss his upcoming court appearance, the UK government's perspective on cannabis, what's needed to avoid a corporate monopoly in the UK cannabis industry, and what it takes to keep a calm mind through trying circumstances. Make sure and like and subscribe, and stick around until the end of the episode to see how you can help support Tony through this extremely difficult and stressful experience. And if you'd like to support the channel, please go to Patreon, where you'll be able to contribute towards building a greater platform for raising cannabis awareness. Now then, let's talk cannabis. So yeah, thanks for talking to me, Tony. We'll just get stuck in, essentially.
Sure.
Just a lot of the viewers might not be familiar with the story, and if they are, they might not know your background. So could you provide just a general background of yourself and when you were actually diagnosed with kidney disease?
Yeah, I was 78 and I'm now 80. I was diagnosed with kidney failure stage 3 and told there was no treatment. And that was from the NHS. Anyway, since there was no treatment and I wasn't prepared to go the route of dialysis and possible transplant, although at 80, who the hell's going to give me a transplant? Because I know what they'd say. You're past it. So I looked around, and I've known about cannabis for a hell of a long time, and I knew its medical qualities. So I decided to grow my own. I researched how to make oil. So after a lot of cock-ups, I was able to make some oil. Not a hell of a lot, but enough. And I dosed myself, and from that moment onwards, my kidneys improved. Until in January 2020, I got busted the second time, and I've had no medicine up until recently, when I managed to get hold of a legal prescription, and things are on the up again now.
Excellent.
I don't like the legal prescription route. I preferred to go my own route because I knew what it was, and I still don't know what's in the medical cannabis I get. All I know is it's a certain amount of THC and a certain amount of CBD. And it does the job, but I was much happier doing it for myself. But that's force of circumstance. You know, I daren't grow it again. I'd be really giving my finger to the law for a third time. So I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm 80 years old and looking at going to court next week, where I'm going to plead not guilty because I believe what I did was justified in saving my life. And we will still see. But I imagine I'm going to go to Crown Court, and because I did it twice, they're a bit fed up with me. They don't like being given the finger much. And so I suspect they're going to try and throw the book at me.
Well, I certainly hope not, Tony, and just, yeah, everybody that's watching this is aware you're doing the right thing, without a doubt. There is no need for anybody to, like, without a doubt, this is what's going on here.
I'm not against recreational cannabis if it's done sensibly, moderately, tolerantly. But I think the whole thing is a complete shambles, and the government, like everything they do, handled it real badly. And if they actually took the scientific evidence and the international evidence, they would climb down totally. And I don't know if you're aware, but within the UK at the moment, there's a group of guys called Seed the Future.
Yeah.
And I'm part of them. And they're saying that there is no evidence that cannabis is what the government claim it is. And they actually are just lying and doing it for other reasons, possibly financial or control of the population. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with that group, actually, and I'm familiar with. I've read the report, and I actually interviewed Guy Coxwell last week, and
Oh yeah, I've been to Guy's place and stayed.
yeah, well, Guy, he's a good guy, and he's
He's wonderful.
He's brilliant, and he's doing a really good job. And in the report in particular, I was aware that you were mentioned in it. That's how I became familiar with your case, actually. And as you've just perfectly described, there is no foundation evidence for the law.
No.
So there has been hundreds, if not thousands, of people prosecuted in the past illegally based on
me.
This, including yourself.
I was busted in 1978 for growing recreational cannabis.
Right.
That was a long time ago.
So you've always had cannabis in your life, essentially?
Well, I never got involved till I was 35.
Right.
I never encountered it as a young man. I was a paramedic in London, and we never came across it. I was thinking about this last night. Heroin was the only thing I came across, and I accepted everything the government told me. It's only that as I've come older, I've seen the multitude of lies and distortions and manipulations that go on. Have I become to distrust them?
Yeah, understandably. The science has had a huge impact. Science has really helped because it's given
Yes, but it's also done a hell of a lot of harm. I mean, science created opioids, and look what opioids have done.
yeah, without a doubt. In the context of cannabis, science has managed to highlight the basis of the endocannabinoid system and provide a biomedical legitimacy for medical use, which has been extremely helpful for individuals such as yourself. And it's been the case. So what are your thoughts at this moment in time then, looking into next week?
I'm going to plead not guilty because I don't believe that I'm guilty of doing anything heinous, criminal. I did it with non-criminal intent to medicate myself. That'll happen. And then I imagine they're going to move it on to Crown Court, and God knows where that'll be with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Probably 2021 sometime.
And the thing is, all of this will be having a tremendous amount of stress on yourself, and obviously a negative impact on your health condition as well.
Sure. I mean, it didn't help my kidneys. I've done a lot of personal healing, and the last few weeks I've really been working on myself. And actually, I feel pretty positive now. My philosophy is kind of, hey, what will be, and let's go with the flow.
Yeah. And the reality is, Tony, I mean, you are an unfortunate martyr in this situation, but it's a legitimate martyrdom. Yeah, that's what this is.
Involuntary. I did not volunteer for this.
Extremely involuntary, but the reality is you are a proponent of an extremely healthy and ethically sound mode of lifestyle, and that's what's going on here, and you're being criticised and condemned for it by the government.
Yeah, and the law. The copper that busted me said, I'm not interested if it's your medicine because it's against the law, and whether it's saving your life or not is irrelevant. And I find that absolutely awful. I mean, I had to refrain from saying, well, Hitler's SS used that excuse too.
Yeah.
But that's the truth of it. They're hiding behind the law, and I don't think they should be allowed to.
Mm-hmm. Especially when the
policeman that busted me was extraordinarily unpleasant the second time. Threatened me, harassed me.
I think I read that he was actually extremely aggressive.
Yes, very.
That's ridiculous, and it's you're in a position where it's like you're using this for medicine. Why is there any aggression? It should be within the public. There is no public interest.
I know why there was aggression. He didn't like the fact that I'd done it a second time when he'd warned me the first time, and he didn't like the fact that when he searched my house, he found other cannabis around the house, and he felt like I was taking no notice of him, or I was poo-pooing what he had to say to me. So I guess he was trying to frighten me, and he succeeded. He scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's a very frightening experience to have, essentially the police coming in, raiding your house and stealing your medicine. There's nothing. There's not a confiscation scenario. It's theft. That's what's going on.
Yeah, you feel very powerless to do anything. Lots of people must feel incredibly powerless in this situation. It bothers me that the police are able to behave like this. In fact, I think that sort of behaviour is outside their attestation, their oath of how they behave.
Without a doubt. And again, the report we just mentioned says that perfectly. I think that there are certain pillars of integrity which are required when it comes to applying police conduct. And I think that's like what you're describing. I don't think it says anywhere in police conduct that aggression, it's and just general manipulation of the circumstance, because that's what they're trying to do. I'm assuming that when you go to court, they're not charging you with self-medication or for therapeutic use.
No, they're charging me with production, which can take me forwards to a criminal prosecution for proceeds of crime.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, was it production of a controlled substance? Is that the total?
Is it controlled?
Well, it's implied
Who
to be.
Who controls it?
Exactly. I mean, I agree fully. You know.
It's another aspect of the whole story.
Well, it's not controlled. That's the whole point. It's a natural plant. You wouldn't refer to carrots or cabbage as a controlled substance, you know.
I'm arresting you for growing carrots.
Yeah. I've always thought that actually it'd be quite humorous to do that if you had set up a grow tent and you made it really clear that you're growing in the house. So the police came to the door and all you had was carrots. That'd be hilarious. It's really
Hey, look, my grow room's still there.
Yeah.
It's still got the pots in it.
Yeah.
I'm seriously tempted to do something like that and then burn some incense with cannabis incense.
Yeah.
Encourage the neighbours to grass me up again.
Yeah. See, I read that as well in the same article, that it was actually the neighbours that had essentially grassed on you for that. So it super highlights the fact that your neighbours are also in that unfortunate class of ignorant people who have no knowledge of the medical basis of cannabis.
I've forgiven him. Yeah. He's just a silly old man. I'm not a silly old man. I'm just an old man.
That's good for you to forgive him. That's really good that you did that, considering the stress.
What do I do? Smash his head in? I don't believe in violence.
No, quite right. And that's exactly it. And that underpins the injustice that's going on here, Tony, is the fact that you don't believe in violence. You're a non-violent individual. You've, looking over, I mean, was it correct to say you're a agricultural teacher? Was that,
I've been all over the world.
Yeah, and I've
taught in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific for 20 years.
Exactly.
Helping kids who hadn't got decent food because the area they lived was so remote. And in Botswana, I was 400 miles from a shop.
Yeah. And then you fast forward to this stage in your life, and then you're getting prosecuted for trying to keep yourself alive, essentially.
Yes. I love life. I think we should all be allowed to fight for our lives peacefully the way we want and use whatever methods we want, even if they're wrong.
I completely agree, without a doubt, Tony. So, I mean, at this moment in time, how are you going to go forward? I know you're saying you're going to plead not guilty, but I mean, what's your defences? I mean, can you talk much about that?
No.
No problem. That's okay.
I've got a very good solicitor. I've got a good barrister, and I've got an expert.
Yeah.
Or two or three, because I'm going to ask Guy if he'll be willing to speak too.
Right.
I've got experts, and I've also got support from Professor Mike Barnes.
Excellent.
So I'm doing all I can.
Excellent.
The way I see it, going to court is a bit of a game. They make the rules. Well, I'm trying to change the rules, but I'll also play within their rules. So I'll use their rules to defend myself.
Yeah. You're a good man, Tony. You're a good man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. And it's really frustrating, in all honesty, because I wish I could come down and support. Is it right in saying that you're not going to have any public support on the day?
Now, I decided that it's only magistrates' court and it'll be short and brief. I'd much rather have support for the Crown Court when hopefully lockdown will be over, things will be relatively back to normal. And a lot of this control that has been exercised on us has gone, because it's scaring the hell out of me. I see more and more control being heaped on us, and I'm wondering if we're ever going to move back to where we were before, or whether they're going to retain it.
Yeah, I think that's a fear a lot of us have at this moment.
My feeling is rise up.
Yeah. I fully agree. I fully agree.
I'd vote for independent Scotland as well, to be honest.
Yeah. I would definitely vote for that.
You're better off out of it.
Yeah, there certainly doesn't seem to be a favourability when it comes to Westminster thinking about up here. It's just, unfortunately though, it's the same scenario. We'd have to have much more of a local control, instead of this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're very often, even, it doesn't matter if you're an independent nation and all that kind of stuff, if you're only getting offered a very small amount of individuals to run the show, you've got a small amount of influence that you can actually use, So yeah, I'm fully agree, Tony. It's like we need to rise up, we need to do something. The time is now to be active.
I kind of got that way because of my travels. I've seen so many countries where the British and the colonials have gone in. They've completely ruined the environment, the culture. They've stolen everything. They've killed, they've raped, they've pillaged, and then they've buggered off and left everybody to sort their own mess out. And what are we doing to Scotland?
Yeah.
What have we done to Ireland? You know, I think we should each one stay on our own patch and mind our own business.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Globalization is kind of it's making it much more difficult to be in control of your local area.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute nightmare, and it seems to be like this situation. It's just coming more and more. You know, it's like fast forwarding almost.
You've got me going.
Yeah.
I've been more political with you than I have been with anyone else I've spoken to.
I'm glad to see that. That's good. I've had that before. When I spoke to Phil Monk a couple of times, and they said the same thing.
Oh, good old fella, love him.
Phil was a good guy, and that's what he said. The same thing. He's like, kind of gets me going when I'm talking to you, Connor. Yeah, no, quite right though. There needs to be. It's like I say, overall change happens on the individual level, and you're causing change, Tony. And the reality is, the stress you're experiencing will be rewarded. It will be. You just have to persevere, and regardless of this extremely dark situation, there's always light on the horizon. You know.
It isn't that dark, you know. The only darkness is what we create for ourselves, and I've got rid of that darkness.
Yeah.
I'm very positive, very free about what's going to happen. If they sent me to prison, it's an experience, you know, and that's what I live on. I live on experience.
Yeah.
So even growing my own medicine was an experience, and I learned from it. I learned all sorts of things.
Yeah. That's
And
just
the whole
fantastic.
business, I've met some wonderful, wonderful, lovely people.
This is just brilliant to hear, Tony. The reality is what you're describing here is a free man. You're already a free man. You've already
I
attached
am.
in your mind. You're a free man. You know, you should hold your head high. I could talk to you for hours, Tony.
If you want to know how free I am, may I give my autobiography a plug?
Certainly.
I wrote it while I was in lockdown, and it's called My Wings of Destiny with Amazon, and it's the story of my life. I went to a British public school, which is why I hate the Tories. And they just, I was abused, bullied, and I survived. I remained me, free. And no one was going to crush me, whatever they try.
Like I say, Tony, it's brilliant chatting and hearing this, because it's like a lot of people have been through what you're going through. Certainly not at your stage in life, but it's extremely stressful, you know. And you're sitting here,
Sure.
and you're very calm, and you're very articulate, and just peace of mind. You know, it's almost like this has been a blessing on you, the way you're describing this.
Well, in some ways, yes, it is. I come from a long line of conscientious objectors, and I guess the same thing happened to them when they were challenged in court over their beliefs. And I believe in cannabis. It's not my religion, but it is something I believe in quite strongly, and I think has had an extremely bad press coverage, and the honesty and truth has not been told about it. So perhaps I don't feel evangelical about it, but I certainly feel strongly enough to be willing to stand up and be counted. And
Yeah.
I think everyone should.
Yeah. One of the words that popped to mind when I'm listening to you is passion. You know, it's one of the things that you find out a lot in the cannabis community, and they spend a lot of time trying to justify their passion. Like, I'm very passionate, I'm very passionate. I do the same thing. The reality is, this plant saves lives, it helps the economy, it helps humanity, it helps the earth. It's like, I think that that's a reasonable reason to be passionate.
Well, like Guy says, it could save us.
It could save us in more ways than one. One of the quotes actually I'd seen in one of your other interviews was that you said that it's better to be illegally alive than legally dead. That was brilliant.
It's not a phrase I made up. I heard it somewhere else, but it's very true.
Without doubt.
How can they say to me, there is no treatment for your kidneys, but if you take action to do anything about it that's illegal, we're going to prosecute you? No, it's like forcing a woman to have a baby when she doesn't want it because she knows it's deformed or something like that. It's imposing others' will on me. And I know that cannabis is not harmful. So it's imposing will on me that I know is unjust.
Yeah.
I don't see why anyone who smokes cannabis doesn't stand up and say, this is unjust. Not just smoke it and keep quiet about it, but actually stands up and does something.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think the key factors is normalization, as you're describing. So it's like, just talk about it, just describe that. It's like, this is what I do, this is what I do in my recreational time, I use it for medicine, because that's one of the difficulties in distinguishing between medicinal cannabis and recreational cannabis. It's like the people that use it recreational at the end of the night, it's therapeutic, you know. So it's, 'cause I've thought about this as well, like, how can you avoid corporate monopoly of a plant that's essentially designed to help humanity on an individual basis?
I
I
think
think
that's part of the control situation, you know.
exactly.
It's mutual back scratching going on at the top.
Yeah, and in my mind, I'm like, how would you prevent that? And the only way you can really prevent that is from allowing cultivation on an individual basis, because then you could maintain a level of control with the plant, and you know that it doesn't immediately go into this inevitable patented area where everything's removed, you know.
They would, I don't see this government ever freeing it, because the whole policy for them is about control. So if we can control it, then we can make money out of it. If we can make money out of it, we can help our buddies.
Yeah,
If we control it more, then our buddies will be even better off. And they'll always try and control.
yeah,
It's not like what's happened in America this last week, where it's all been legalized suddenly.
yeah. Is
You
that
know,
right?
psilocybin, heroin, and some states has all been legalized.
Oh, really? I was unaware of
Yeah,
that.
and you're thinking, what the hell's going on?
That's very unusual. That's what
Yeah,
caused that?
the election.
Oh, I see. Of course.
They're trying to get votes. So,
Yeah,
ulterior motive.
yeah,
Not done for the genuine, correct reason,
yeah,
done for ulterior motives. What I believe the government should do is to stop what they're doing as regards cannabis now and have a scientific review of it. And they don't sack anybody who disagrees with them. In fact, they are not entitled to a say. And whatever the scientific and medical review comes up with should be followed by the government.
yeah. I think a lot of people would back that proposal.
I think that way you're going to get a lot more fairness, a lot less greed and ulterior motives.
Yeah,
And we all could, more or less, without too much control, do what we want to do. The people who wanted to grow could grow. I wouldn't say they could grow hundreds,
yeah,
because I know if I had my farm and it was legal, I'd grow a couple of acres
yeah.
and just fill carrier bags up and give it all to my friends, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what this is all about, though. This is about sharing and about helping people. That's what this is all
But
about.
everything in life should be about sharing.
Yeah, yeah. It should
I'm a
be.
communist from the sound of things.
Yeah. Not at all. And that's like communism. Inevitably, it's the individual ends up taking control. It's been shown that communism doesn't help. What helps is something else that's not arrived yet.
Well, I think we can all, you and me and everyone involved, can do something to move it along a bit
Yeah,
in our behavior, in the way we are with other people.
yeah,
We can all move it along. So I get somebody insult me. I've got tiny little stupid red dreads. And a guy wanted to have an argument with me the other day, and he said, well, you and your stupid little dreads. And I just laughed and walked away. I thought, no, it doesn't bother me.
yeah,
Because there's a wonderful saying. When other people look at you, what they see is actually none of your business.
yeah. That's quite good. Oh, I like that. You actually reminded me of another saying, just with your you're not being phased at all by this influence. It's like, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And I think that's what's going on here, Tony. Is you're sitting here and you're just a man of peace, and you're just, you can't really attack this individual. It's really empowering to see.
Thank you.
It is. It's
I
really
do
empowering to
feel
see.
empowered at the moment. I don't know what it'll be like next week when I go to court. I should probably be shitting a brick.
Yeah. Yeah, anybody would be, though. Let's be honest. It's designed to be intimidating, the whole process. The only thing I think you've got in your favour is that the fact is that you're a proponent of a plant that's good for you. So it's like that's what's going on. The plant is good for you. It's good for humanity, and they're criticising you and prosecuting you for that. it's draconian.
Oh yeah, it's inhumane.
Yeah.
You know, there's no justification for treating me and other sick people who find that cannabis helps the way they are treated.
Yeah.
There's all these people hiding away, feeling terrified, scared stiff that the door's going to be kicked in, that their whole life's going to be turned upside down, their children could be taken away, things like that, you know, and that's just wrong.
Yeah.
It can't be defended.
One of the things I said in the See the Future report as well was exactly that. It was the reduction in trauma for the police. Discretionary decriminalisation that they promoted. That you see, I think in County Durham, I think it has that, where they come through and they try and avoid, if there is any attempt at them chasing down factories of cannabis and stuff like that, they have to make sure there's no children involved in the area, in the house or whatever, that kind of stuff, which is a step forward. But at the same time, I think all of these things would be prevented if there was just an overall education for the police service in particular.
It's too piecemeal. As you say, Durham, it should be nationwide. It should be what America are doing, what Canada are doing, what Spain and Portugal have done. Why the hell aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
Are we saying, oh, we know better than you, you know, you behave foolishly. The Brits are far more intelligent, because that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
What's wrong with their evidence? The Israelis, who have 200,000 data records of medical cannabis, why are we ignoring them?
Yeah. So actually, it just shows you kind of the ignorance of British mentality. I think Hannah Deacon, when I interviewed her, she described it when she went over to Netherlands and she had got the doctor's reports for her son. When she came back and she's handing these to GPs in the UK, they're just disregarding it. They're not even looking at the evidence. They're not even looking at any of the reports at all. Just basically, oh, it's like a derogatory swipe away kind of thing.
Well, when I asked my doctor to be put onto a medical cannabis clinic, he threw me out. He said, right, no such thing exists, and I won't talk about it, so out.
That is ridiculous.
Sent him a leaflet on the endocannabinoid system.
That'd probably be the most educational reading that man's been given.
And I asked another one, what do you know about the endocannabinoid system? And he said, never heard of it.
That's, yeah, I know. I said the same thing. I was up at the fact that they've never heard of this shows how new it is. It's really bizarre when you think about it like that you could sit in the company of a professional and they have no knowledge of something that just a civilian sitting with. You know, they know it's like, yeah, I've got all this knowledge. You're just a civilian. This doctor has absolutely no knowledge of this thing that's crucial for physiological development.
Well, I think very few doctors have, because as part of the ulterior motive, the medical schools haven't taught cannabis, because I guess they've been instructed to follow the government line, which is cannabis is dangerous and causes harm to the community.
Yeah.
You know, the standard line.
Yeah, it's the absence. So that's one of the things that Mike Barnes are doing really well, is educating GPs. You know, I think they do like before lockdown anyway, they were doing like I think educational seminar where it shows, or I think they have also a website where it's people that showing a curriculum where you could essentially get an online education for endocannabinoid system functioning.
Yes, and Drug Science is doing the same. They've got think their courses and they bring doctors in. I got my doctor through Drug Science.
Right.
Although it's not cheap, it's effective and it keeps me out of the hands of the law.
Yeah.
But it's morally wrong that because I've got a little bit of money, I can get it, and because someone else hasn't got the money, they can't get it.
Yeah. Exactly. That's well said. We can't really do
morals don't come into politics, do they?
Certainly, they seem to be almost antithetical of politics. You know, they're not even closely related. Ethics and politics seem to be kind of polarized factors. Yeah.
No, it's again ulterior motive. In this lockdown, I understand that quite a few members of parliament have made billions out of lockdown, and they're raking it in.
I think there's a lot needs to be changed, and I think you're doing a great job just by impacting this. I mean, you're going against the establishment, you know, by being insistent, and which is a good thing.
Do you think that's why they're having a real go at me?
I wouldn't be surprised that there is absolutely no other reason, you know, and numerous other individuals that come to mind are the same thing. It's like if you go against the establishment for cannabis in particular, they really don't like it.
Well, I come from a long line of Quakers. I'm not a Quaker, I'm a humanist, but Quakers were persecuted. There's even a statue on one of the bridges in London to one of my relatives who was jailed for 10 years for preaching when he shouldn't have done. So I come from a long line of people who stand up for injustice.
Yeah, well, it's
Maybe
evident.
I'm following the family line. Yeah.
It certainly seems evident. But anyway, Tony, we'll probably leave it there. Just before we get going, though, if do you have any words for anybody that'd like to support you, or any direction where they could go? I think I'll leave the link for your website, the support.
My support page. When the court case comes up, I will be advertising it, talking about it, and if things are okay, I really want as much support as I can get on that day. But a lot will happen between then and now. I've got a friend going to court in Crown Court on the 16th on similar charges, and she's producing the foundation evidence, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Selena.
Right. Yeah. Everybody else keep their fingers crossed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that.
Just keep fighting and don't sort of be apathetic. Join me. Be as outstanding and heard as I am, please. Yeah. I don't feel alone, but I'd like to have 1 million, not 1.8 thousand.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody support Tony. The description and the all the links for Tony's support pages are in the description box below. Send them your love, send them the support, because he's going to need it, as does everybody that goes through this process. So I'd like to just say thank you very much for chatting with me, Tony. This has been brilliant. And take care, and all the best for next week.
Yeah, thanks very much, Connor.
Anytime, Tony. I'll speak to you soon, man.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks to Tony for giving me his time, and thanks to you for sticking around until the end of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the content. I'll see you next time.